All right, we are back into it again, back from holidays. It's hot as in here today, so it's quite late. I might quickly run around and weld all this in before I lose the light, and then we're going to move on to gussets. So anywhere where there's an intersection, I need to do gussets. So in here, and in here, and in here. I don't know about these. I have seen them gusseted. I have seen them not gusseted. I will double check on that. Optional gussets are in corners like these. Now, normally people don't do taco gussets. Normally they do little pieces of tube, and that significantly strengthens these corners. However, it also significantly adds the complexity, and there's no way I can get a weld in on any of these. So that is the reason that I've left them out. Plus, again, superfluous. You know, it's not a heavy car, it's not a high-speed car. But these ones here are required, so we will work on those now. Again, templating. I do not recommend using corrugated cardboard if you can help it. If it's all you got, go for it. But nice, you know, poster board or cereal boxes or RAM board or whatever, or this is ideal, especially if you do want to keep them and recycle them. This is, I think, 0.6mm Galvabond. I've got more in the ute. I use it for doing small concreting jobs where we've got weird angles and stuff, or radiuses to do, because it's great for that because you can bend it and rebend it. But that is essentially what we're making. Now you can make these into an isosceles triangle just by changing the angle of this part here. Like this is, you know, you can make anything into an isosceles triangle, but it doesn't look as good with them being all weirdly angled. So I have a level, like a square with a level on it. So I will, the car is sitting pretty well level. I will, you know, level these down so they sit kind of like that. Obviously then this one is going to need to be trimmed on the top to make it fit. It's actually probably not a terrible fit. And then obviously we need to work out what this is here. I'll show you how to do that, even though obviously I can just copy off of this bad boy here. But yeah, that's what we're making. 2 for in here, 2 for in there. I also will be putting a dimple die inside of them, just because it looks pretty. It doesn't really save much weight or add much, but it looks cool. So let's get to templating. Alright, taco gussets. Called taco gussets because they kind of look like a taco if you squint. Now, they're pretty easy to measure up. As I said, I want mine to be semi-level, so I've got the level square out. Let me just reassemble it. Why are you stuck? Now, the rules state that you need to be between 2 and 4 times the diameter of the tube from here. So diameter of this tube is 36mm, so I need to be 72mm out, which 72mm puts us about there, which that is a very small gusset. I don't like that. 4 times that is 72, 144mm, which puts us out about there, which is probably a bit big. We can go a bit smaller. So I've marked this line here, which is about 120mm from the weld. It doesn't really matter because I don't need to remember the measurements side to side because I'm going to make a template. So I've just marked 120mm out, and then I've got my level, and I've sort of just eyeballed that mark, run the level across the front here, and now you remember the car's down a little bit in the front and blocked a little bit in the back, so it's going to sit a little bit up. So I've just got it sort of line fall so that when the car comes up it'll be level, but like it's, you know, it's not a lot, it's a tiny bit out, and it's only a personal thing anyway. That can be sort of whatever angle you want. Now, since it's not an isosceles triangle, we need to know a few measurements. So we know we're 120mm out here, but obviously our gusset doesn't stop here, it goes in a little bit further. Now, where you stop it is kind of up to you. You don't want them to touch in the middle because you need to get a weld all the way around. So if we say the center point is this mark here that I've got, I want my gussets to stop about here and about here, so maybe 5 mil shy of the center point. So the other thing we need to know is how far around the tube we're coming. So if we say the midpoint of the tube, which if you run your square across here, the midpoint of the tube is where the square touches, which is there. So if we run the gusset up to that point, now this is going to be thicker than this. It's going to be 1 mil steel, and it's sitting already proud of the tube by 1 mil, and then there's going to be a weld in here, so it's going to stick out even more, and it's going to be like you're stacking things on top of each other, comes out further and further. So what I prefer to do is tuck the taco gusset under a little bit so that then it sits sort of under the tube here, and I've got a bit of a valley which I can weld in, which makes everything sit on the same plane. So I basically go 1/3 of the tube. So if we say it's 12 mil, 24 mil, 36 mil, we'll come 12 mil up. So if we sort of take an arbitrary 12 mil up and we measure out to this point here, which I really need to carry that line through a little bit further. I'll run that around there, run that up around there. So if we say we're going from 5 mil out to, I need to get my ruler out of here, 5 mil out from there to this line, about 1/3 of the way around the tube is there. We'll say that is about 208 millimeters on the top. So 208, I'll just mark it on this one for funsies, 208. On the bottom, it is, this is going to be a bit difficult because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. If we go, say, there, that is about 195. 195. So you see, if we made it in an isosceles triangle, we'd be about, what's that, 12, 13 mil out of level. We can also check the angle of this, which we don't really need to know, but I mean, I've got the tools here to do it, so I may as well grab the measurement. And it is 32.1. 32.1, we'll just go 32 because it's close enough. 32 degrees there. And then our throat. So our throat internally is, I have another ruler here somewhere, which is better for this. So internally, our measurement is about 75 mil. So 75 mil is this measurement here. 75. And then obviously when we wrap up around, let me double check that this is, it's actually closer to about 16 mil. So we'll add 32 to that, plus 32. All right, so now we're over here at our bench. We've got our measurements and our implements and such, and we need to mark it out. Now, obviously, I'm going to mark this out like so. So I need to mark out this rectangle first, so I need to flip all my measurements. So we're 190 on the bottom. So I'm going to come across 190 on the bottom. However, got that little piece in the middle that I'm cutting off, and that'll be fine. Come across 190 on the bottom. I'll put a marker there. And then we're 108 up, and we're 200 on the top. So I'm going to put the ruler at 200 there like so. Get my measuring tape. Looks like another ruler here. Look, this will work better. And come up 108. So we just push that up till it hits 108. Which is there. I've lost my 200 mark. 200, 108, right there like that. Now it would be nice to have a slightly thinner pen, but it is what it is. So put that mark there like so, and I just know that I'm on the outside of that line. Now, the inside part is the next piece we need to mark up. And it's really, really easy to work out. Like, these things are pretty simple. Same size tube as what's on the door bars, and I've come up about the same amount that I did in the car, so not to the center but down a little bit, and I've marked that across the tube. Now you can actually lay this on, hold it down, get whatever measurement that you want, and use a block or a space or a measuring tape off the ground, measure it up, draw it. That's what I have done. And then a piece of paper, line that mark up there, put a mark, wrap it around, put a mark on the other side, straighten that back out again and measure it. And in this case it's about 60 mil. So I want another line parallel to this at 60 mil, exactly parallel. So I need to come square off of here. So this is a nice square edge, so I can line that up there like that. Mark 60. Same thing up here. Go square out off that line. Mark 60, and because this is a big fat pen, I will get a scribe. And I'll actually scribe the 60 in the middle. So I kind of want this to be, the more accurate you are with this piece, the easier it is, but it's not super important. If you get the center wrong, it just means that when you fold your two peaks around, they'll be a little bit skew, but you can sort of manipulate them a little bit like this. It does that somewhat, and you can sort of tell a little bit in this. As you can see, as I'm manipulating, you can see it's a little bit crooked, but when it's in the car, it's really hard to see. So you do have a little bit of play there. It doesn't have to be super accurate, and this cutout here doesn't have to be super close either. When you're welding in the car, you're going to add about 3 mil worth of weld, and the material is only 1 mil thick, so the strongest it'll be is 1 mil. So as long as you get 1 mil worth of weld covering this, you have a 1 mil, you have the strength of the steel in the weld. So theoretically, if you add 3 mil worth of weld, you can have a 2 mil gap and still get your full 1 mil penetration. I wouldn't recommend a 2 mil gap, but if there's a 1 mil gap around here, it really doesn't matter. You can see I've just freehanded this one. This one here I've actually traced around something, you can see, and got a bit better on that one. But it's not, don't overthink these things, just get something done. Something's better than nothing. So then we can draw this on here. And then we need to replicate our triangle on the other side. So, actually I need my square back again, really, don't I? This is probably not the best way to square across, but that's what I'm doing. So that's essentially a box. Now, we know that we're coming up the side of the tube about 15, 16 mil. So come into the middle here, which is about 30, it's about there, and come down 15 or 16 mil, which is about there, in 30, there. Oh, fireworks. Someone got their New Year's mixed up, it was actually last night, but anyway. All right, now the neighbours have wasted $600, get back to measuring. Now, two ways of doing this. You can either do the same thing with the 2 ruler method, get your measurements, so go 200 there, and 190 here. However, I found this to always be a little bit, how you going? and it never quite lines up right. Let me see if I can get it tonight though. 200 there, 190 there. Puts us right on that point there. The other way to do it is with this device here. If it wasn't locked. Come on, buddy. It doesn't matter what the angle is, I just need to mark it. So it's that. Flip that over to there. And draw it on. See, I've missed it by a little bit already. Like so. Theoretically, that should line up the same. Come across 200. Puts us there. Now that should be 190 back to here. Which is spot on. Okay, so that is our Tucker gusset minus the scallops. Now you can either just freehand it, so just sort of go from here to here in a nice arc. Freehand it and cut it out, or if you've got a cheap hole saw kit, you can find something generally that works. I do not know where mine is. Oh, there it is. So I'll get something that, so I want it to be 60 mil across at 15 mil deep. So 15 deep is there. It's probably not big enough. Nope. Bigger. That's very close. I think the next one's going to be too big. Yep, next one's too big. So that's pretty close right there. So you can see I'm touching there and just not quite touching the line there. So I just need to go a little bit deeper with it. So as I bring the pen around, I'll just sort of straighten it up here in the middle and then lay it back down again as I go around. That's pretty good. So it came out a little bit better. That's pretty much it. Now I'll just cut that out with a pair of tin snips, go over to the car, try it on, make any modifications that I need to, grind a little bit of this out. Obviously you can't put a little bit more in. If you, you know, made it too small, you either need to write on here what you need to do on the final product and make sure that you do it the same way on both of them, or, you know, cut another one out. Like I said, this is pretty cheap. These templates, you know, in this tin last forever. These are about probably 10 years old. They don't come in super handy anymore because, you know, all my angles are different, but you know, now I'm going to have another couple to add to the collection. I used to have a whole heap. I think I threw a bunch of them in the bin when we moved, but I'm building up a collection again. So that's it. Let's cut this out. We'll get back over. All right, we've got our template over here at the car. Now we need to square that line up with the edge just by eye and then bend it around. Just take our time with it, get a nice tight bend. The tighter this is, the better. Like so. Now this is only going to go one way, obviously. I need to go down a little bit, line them tips up. You see I've taken the ends of these off. It's a little bit thin. You don't want to be trying to weld the tip, it'll just burn off. So on the final product, I'll cut these nice and square like so. And then this should go in there like that. If my measurements are right, and they're not. I have missed that by a mile. So I guess I'm not up 16 mil. I'm up 12 mil like I thought I was. Nice one. But anyway, that doesn't matter. because I'm hitting where I want here, and I've still got a fairly decent sized gusset there. I'm coming up the tube a little bit more than I would have wanted. Hang on, so 16 mil, 36 mil is, half of 36 is 15, 18 mil. So I'm only 2 mil down from center. Yeah, I really should have thought of that. So basically what I've done here is I've cut these in here too small. That's not a huge deal. I can either leave it like that, or I could trim these down a few mil to get back to where I want, or alternatively, I can slide this back out to where I want it, like so, and I'll just remark these by hand on the final product, which is what I think I'll do. I think I like that right there, like so. Yep, that is perfect. So I'm going to run with that, and I'm just going to mark these. I'm just going to bring these in, whatever that gap is. It's about 4 mil on both sides, so I'll bring that in on the final product. Now, will this work on this side? I highly doubt it. No, it doesn't. Actually, mind you, that's not far off. It doesn't work, but it's not far off. So anyway, that's the one that I need to do. I just need to remember to, so I'll put a reminder on this when I flatten it out that I need to add 4 mil to both of them so it sits out. I will do another gusset for the inside here. All right, so I've mocked these up in here now and I'm quite happy with them. They're not 100% symmetrical, and that's on purpose because the door bars aren't centered and symmetrical. The angles are different, and I kind of wanted to highlight that because I've done door bars that were very symmetrical in the past, and it looks really weird. I don't know why. It just looks kind of wrong. So these door bars aren't symmetrical, and I've kind of highlighted that here. Yeah, I did end up trimming this one down a little bit and pushing it in a bit further just because they were a bit too out of symmetry. This one here was really long. This one here was quite a bit shorter, and I'm really happy with the way they look now. So now I also need to template up these guys here, and yeah, I won't show you that because I've already shown you this one, or unless I might use that one there as my example because it's going to be a lot easier to film that, in which case you'll have no idea what I've done here. I'll decide on that later. Either way, one of the things is going to be true. Either way, you're going to have seen this, and you're going to have seen that I made this one a bit big, and that'll make sense as to why I cut it down. Or you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about, and you're going to watch that one next. Could be like a choose your own adventure, but I'm choosing it for you. But whatever. Let's move on. I need to work out if I'm going to cut these out of steel first or make the template up there first. I kind of want to do both. Let's template this up. Let's go. Alright, so I just thought I'd bring you back in for a bit of a tech tip. Again, I haven't done this in a while, and when we moved I threw a lot of them out. But I used to have about 20 different grinding discs, which were all sort of worn to different points, because these actually make great like radius markers. So for instance, you know, that one there, do that radius, this one here, you know, none of them mine are small enough for what we're doing here. But yeah, if you've got the means to do it, grab yourself a pack of cheap grinding wheels, use them all to different radiuses. It's actually pretty like easy to get them to certain sizes. So, you know, you just run a measure across it. So this one here is at 90 mil. This one here is, I can't remember what this one is, 107. So, and then you can just write on what they are with a paint pen. Like I said, I used to have a stack of them, but I think actually I ran out of grinding wheels and I ended up using some of them. But yeah, if you're doing a lot of circle work, things like these are great, as opposed to using, you know, crappy hole saws like that. These work much better. All right, since this is the first time I've actually used dimple dies on the channel, I thought I'd just quickly run through them. So setting them out is probably your biggest challenge if you've got a dimple die. You kind of want it you know, situated in a nice spot. This one here is possibly a little bit too far, so it could have more been centered. The way I worked it out was I sort of figured that the tube overlaps X amount, you know, like 14 mil. So I drew a 14 mil border and then pushed the outside of the die up to that border. Yeah, but I probably could have gone a little bit further because there's actually quite a bit of this die actually overhangs the flange. It doesn't flange out all the way, if I can get this apart. So it actually flanges to there, so I really should have used that measurement there as my outside point and pushed them a little bit further forward, but it is what it is. The smaller ones are way too far, way too close to the end, and I don't like them, so I'm actually remaking those as we speak. So what I've done is I marked on this one pretty much where I wanted to move it to, and then worked out what that measurement was, and then sit this on here, equal distance from there to there, mark around it, and then on those guys that go in the back there, because they're an equilateral triangle almost, it's just a matter of, you know, getting it nice and centered from all 3 points. These ones here are a little bit more difficult. That's basically where I want the dimple die to be. So run a measuring tape across it, just anywhere, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's sort of 90 degrees to that. So if we go there to 50 mil, you'll see that halfway through it is 25. Over here it's 55 and 27.5. You'll get pretty close this way. If you want to double check it, run it across on an angle like that, 55 across at 27.5. You know, do it 3 points, you'll get pretty good. So that's my center line. I've then run that all the way from the point through to here, so that I can replicate it on the other side. So I've come down from this point here, and we're at 50 mil, come across here, put a mark at 50 mil. Actually, I'm just noticing that's not lining up really well. What have I done here? 47.5, 47.5, which means that these two here aren't the same. 100 mil, they are the same. 47.5, 47.5, 53, 53. Oh, okay, they're right. They're right. I was just measuring wrong. Yeah, so they're actually not quite centered, funnily enough. These ones here, I basically was able to measure this distance here to here and halve it, and then run through from the point, and that put my dimple die where I wanted it to be. I guess because this is more of an offset, yeah, center in here actually puts the dimple die too close to this edge. But anyway, that's visually what looked good. You know, I learnt that by making a mistake. So what you need to do then is you need to clearance for the hole in the middle here. Now ideally a hydraulic punch is best for this, but I don't have one of those. So you need to clearance that hole there, which is this hole saw here. It's actually a little bit big, but that's what I've got. And that's not a great hole saw. It does a pretty chunky looking job on it, but anyway, yeah, drill your hole saw through the middle, and then, you know, obviously you need to make sure that your flange is going, or your dimple is going the right way, because you want it to go in and not out. Otherwise it looks crappy and has a bit of a sharp, daggy edge. So the back of this material's, like I said, a bit rusty already, pretty daggy. So I'm gonna punch from this side through. So I need to clean these up. I'll run the die grinder around it, and then also hit it with a bit of a belt sander. And then these go through like that, and then that's the shoulder there. So these will self-center if your hole's a little bit big. It doesn't have to be. It has to be minimum this size, but it can be a little bit bigger, and it will self-center. You just won't get quite as big a flange. So by reaming these holes out a little bit, I won't get quite a nicer flange, but it'll work. And then when you do actually press these, I just do it in the vise. Hydraulic press works a bit better, especially on thicker material. You won't do it in a vise, but the material itself will sort of warp and cup, go a bit funky. So then you take this guy here, and it'll be on the back because we're punching through this way. So you take that guy, and then you put it over the flange, and it'll sit on there nicely. And then you press back down on it again with your hydraulic press, or, you know, in a vise, or you can just sit on there and hit with a hammer, and it'll press your material back flat again. You've probably seen me do that in the time lapse. As I said, these are really, really expensive. In Australia, they're about $170 each. I only have 2 sizes. You can do it a cheaper way if you don't really mind the look. Once again, we'll pull out the super cheap, super dodgy hole saw set. So you'll notice that these cheap hole saws actually have this like radius on the bottom where they've actually been pressed. So you can drill a hole that is smaller than that, so about there somewhere, cut a hole that big, and then sit this on top, and then get the next size hole saw up and sit that on the bottom, and you can press that one into there and you'll see that they actually don't touch, so it'll actually push one piece of material into the other. Now if you don't want to use the hole saws as hole saws ever again, you could grind all these teeth off and make it a bit neater if you don't really care about the outcome. They work just as they are. I've actually got some, I think I threw them in the bin. Yeah, so these were some that were just some dash brackets that I had made up. Yeah, and you can see they're a little bit shitty, a little bit crinkly, but you know, they are what they are, and it's a bit hard to center them as well, so they're a bit off center, but they work. It works for reducing weight. It's just, I wouldn't put it somewhere where you care what it looks like. I would get the real thing, but if you're in a pickle or you just simply can't afford the real thing, that will work, and you can body work them out. Alternatively, if you have a good set of body working hammers and a like a wheat bag and that, you can actually cut the hole and then just sort of hit that over, like pin that over with a hammer, and you can like freehand them. I've seen guys do it that are quite good with body work. I don't have a sandbag. I'm not that good at body work. I will use the correct tool. Yeah, so let's do it.